Wade is guarding Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up at the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Boom! What is going on, Insurance Syndicate? That one's for you, Murray. You know what time it is. It is 9 a.m. Central. We are here live for Winning on Wednesday within Syndicate HQ. We got an action-packed show for y'all. I'm really excited to actually have our guest on today. But before we get into the show, as always, shout out to our main sponsor of Winning on Wednesday, Viva Virtual Solutions. Shout out to Lily Davies. You can see her already there in the comments. I see you in there too, Murray. But shout out to Viva and Lily, just everything she does for the group, for all of our members, the clipping, the editing, all the publishing that she's doing across all of our channels. We literally couldn't do it without you, Lily. And then also shout out to Rob Lopez, who runs Viva. And they, again, are a virtual assistant firm for basically any type of insurance agent. So we've been using them for years and just seriously nothing but just high praises, high recommendation. So if you are in the virtual assistant market, definitely check out Viva Virtual Solutions. Again, you see Lily here within the group. And yes, Murray, I did do it. Murray, if you guys saw me do the dab, that's Matt Murray's thing where he's just like, bro, dabber, it isn't live. So I'm dabbing because we are live here within the group. And also, you guys know what time it is. It's Winning on Wednesday. Start dropping those weekly wins in the comments, y'all. We want to be able to celebrate you. I don't care how big or how small. Start dropping them in the comments. I've definitely got one that I'm not going to freaking share. I wasn't even going to say it live, but I'm going to go ahead and say it live. So you guys know I play softball. We played last night. We won for sure. Oh, but I freaking struck out, man. I freaking struck out in men's slow pitch softball on a Tuesday night. So that is definitely not my weekly win. My weekly win is we are actually onboarding 3 new internal salespeople within my internal agency. So I made a post about this yesterday. You guys know, obviously, a lot of what I do is kind of recruit and support people on the Clearview insurance side of things. But what allows me to really be good at that is I'm doing it myself, right? Anything that I'm preaching, I'm practicing. So we're growing pretty rapidly within the internal agency. We've got some awesome opportunities that are lined up for us. So that is definitely my weekly win. Again, drop those in the comments. Let me know, too, where you're tuning in from. I see you, Kevin. Lily, Matt's in there, and I'd see we got quite a few other people tuning in. Go ahead and start dropping those weekly wins in the comments. Also, before I go ahead and bring on our guest, I don't know. We may just chop it up and have a lot of fun, or we may get like super technical and maybe even like show you guys some systems or something. I don't know 100%. But if you do have questions or anything, please do not hesitate to drop those in the comments. But without further ado, it's been a long time coming. I've known this guy, and he's been one of my favorite people in the industry for freaking years now. I'm trying to think of when I actually first met him, but he's one of the founders of BBI. He's one of the founders of Medicare Con, and now he's doing his own thing, but he's still providing the same value to all of the insurance industry. Everybody welcome Mr. Steven Martinez to the show. What's going on, brother?
Hey, guys. How's it going, man? Thank you for having me on here. Pleasure to finally be here.
I know. I'm like, dude, damn, has Steven like not been on the show before? I'm like, I don't think he has, man. So
yeah, no, I was trying to think. Well, the first time I met you, I think you were wearing a Magic Johnson jersey, and you caught my eye because you come in some like Nikes and a Magic Johnson jersey in an insurance conference where everybody's like stiff and buttoned up, and then here comes Joe Kempert in a Magic Johnson jersey, and I was like, I like that guy.
You hear that, people? You hear that? It works. It works, y'all. It's a good icebreaker, a good conversation starter.
Yeah,
Steve,
but I think that was probably about 4 years ago when we first started, probably Medicare Con, maybe 2021 when we first started Medicare Con. Of course, I've worked with Bobby Brock Insurance for the last 7 years. I was their chief marketing officer until here recently, and done a lot over there. Here recently, though, I decided to leave and start my own agency and kind of do it all again on my own. And, nothing against them or what we built over at Bobby Brock Insurance. It's just, you can only do that for so long, orchestrating all of it before it's like, okay, when do I do this for myself? And so the entrepreneur spiritship of me, I burned through that kind of, and just kind of checked out with what we were doing because we had hit so many strides and leaps and got everywhere. And so it's kind of refreshing to kind of step back and get back to ground level and reconstruct this from the ground up, knowing exactly where I want to go and how I want to navigate it. And most importantly, the things not to do that we did, before. And so just definitely learning from our mistakes. So I'm fresh on this brand new beginning with my agency. We're calling it Ultimate Senior Benefits. Ooh. And that's my consumer facing entity that we're selling to Medicare beneficiaries as, but I'm also starting a software company where we're called Ultimate Agent Systems, and we're going to provide a different set of tools and resources to Medicare agents ultimately. And they're going to be tools and resources that are for Medicare agents, as well as tools and resources that are aimed at FMOs and solving some of the problems that we were having on the FMO side of it at Bobby Brock Insurance. So, like I said, it's kind of an umbrella of products that will come out under that brand. And I have some things that I could show you, but honestly, that it's nothing that I plan on promoting until after AEP. Just the timing, like you said, right now it's we're gearing up for AEP. Personally, I'm starting my own agency, and I'm personally looking to write some on my own pen. I've got 3 to 5 agents that I'm getting started. So I'll go ahead and throw this out there. We like this is winning on Wednesday. So my win for this week is I've got 5 contracts ready to sell this week. So I was able to actually send out some contracts to the agents I have waiting. So I'm ready to sell as an agency. So that's a win, right? If you've been through that whole process of, setting up the LLC, getting the E&O, getting the agency license, getting yourself licensed, applying for all the license, jumping through all the hoops, it's a nightmare, right? So that is a win in itself, just having all these carriers come. Again, just in the infancy of my agency and getting ready to sell and getting ready to personally get back in the groove of things and grind it out for an AEP so that when I look up in January, I've got a little book of business that's generating revenue, but then I can focus my attention on actually building the software and the solutions and that I want to provide for other insurance agents to help them solve some pain points.
I love it, dude. I freaking love it. You got a lot going on, dude. First question I got to ask you, which is funny. I'm going through setting up another entity, and just because, again, it just starts, you start blending too much. It starts getting too messy. So then it's like, but I really don't want to spin up a new EIN and go get the new cut and do all the crap. And I'm like, but you got to, right? It's funny. I'm literally going through that right now. And it's just like, oh my gosh, man, like getting it all set up. Luckily I have my wife that helps me with a lot of that. So, but dude, my first question, bro, I think you're probably the first person who's done what we'll call a restart and called it refreshing. You're like, dude, it's really refreshing to kind of take a step back. And I maybe not even a step back, maybe just a step in a different direction. Right. Talk through that. Why is that refreshing to you, coming from obviously the seat that you're sitting in at CMO? And I know how involved you were and everything that you were doing and all the blood, sweat, and tears that you poured into it. And now it's like, man, it's kind of actually refreshing that I got to step away from some of that. Talk through some of that mindset and kind of what that shift was, because I think there are agents that can definitely, they're either going through it right now, that or they have gone through it, or maybe at some point in time they may go through that themselves where, dude, I got to pivot. One of my favorite words is I got to pivot, right? I'm not going backwards. I'm changing directions. Talk through some of that. Talk through the mindset. Was it tough? Were you sad at all? Was it refreshing, as you said? Like, but now it's like, I'm excited. Go through some of those feelings.
Yeah, it's one of them bittersweet things, right? Because you've built something great and it's going great. But I think a true testament is like, how something lives once you step aside, like how good that business functions once the actual people that built it, the owners, whatever, step aside. If it can continue to function and thrive the way that it was set up to do, then I think that's a testament of like what you've done, right? And so
Right.
it's gotten there. We've made an effort over the last year or two to get me out of the day-to-day operations of what we were doing over there, because we had kind of grown so fast that we didn't evolve fast enough and grow the foundation and the infrastructure. So I was wearing a lot of different hats. And so
Gotcha.
when we looked up a couple of years ago, it was like, okay, we've got to start shedding some of these tasks and delegating. And so we turned a lot of my position into about 6 or 7 different positions over there and delegated all these tasks. But then once that happened, now I'm sitting here and it's just managing all that. But why is it refreshing? Because we scaled so fast that like the things that we were doing in the very beginning that helped us grow and be that personable face-to-face business and create that brand, it's like I got away from that.
Yeah.
The longer I wasn't in it and doing it, the more that wasn't a factor and it wasn't a primary focus of our marketing, our mindset, our goals of what we were doing as a company. And so I think we were just getting away from actually creating the personal relationship with that client in a focus for the race to the bottom line, the biggest bottom line, right? Which is fine. I mean, that's all part of the game. Like we all want to profit, but at the same time, we don't want it to hurt our actual customers and the person that we're actually trying to help when we're actually out there talking to people. So for me, like I said, I just got so far away from it that I just lost like what it was like to have that personal connection with the actual client that you were talking to. It all turned into marketing and how can we increase the CPA, the CPL? How can we lower all of this, right? Like it turns into a race to that. And again, you just kind of lose sight of it. So it's just refreshing to me to kind of step back into it, actually pick up the phone, talk to beneficiaries. Like the first conversation I had the other day, I did 45 minutes. I didn't talk the first bit about insurance to the guy. Didn't talk about insurance at all. I just got on the phone and like, I just forgot. I just started talking to the guy. He was a cool guy. He started talking about things and I look up 45 minutes into it. I'm like, damn, I haven't even asked him like anything about insurance, So I'm like, okay, now for me, it's like, okay, I got to warm my feet back up and get back in the sales grind and everything. It's not that I don't know how to do it. It's just been, I think it was 2021 when I actually wrote my last policy.
Been a minute. So, been a minute, dude.
Yeah,
Trust,
so
I'm
that's why it's
right
refreshing to,
it's
just refreshing to get thrown back in there, have that conversation. And then again, for me personally, of course, I come from the marketing side of it. And so I'm getting to go back and structure the business from the very beginning, knowing every mistake. And I've coached thousands of agents on how to do this over my time at Bobby Brock Insurance. And so now I can see what's worked and what hasn't worked. And I know exactly what I want to do. And so I'm getting to actually lay that out every step of the way along the way, rather than having to backpedal or reverse engineer into a lot of things, which is what we end up having to do at Bobby Brock Insurance, just because we started as a consumer focused agency and reversed into being a FMO. And we were never set up to be that. And so we reversed into trying to create a lot of infrastructure of an FMO where we weren't set up that way initially. So it created a lot of pain points. Now I can kind of take that from the very beginning and knowing what I know, build on top of that so we can have the very best from the very beginning. And so like what I'm looking to provide is, the ultimate tech stack is what I'm calling it, like the perfect tech stack that you need as the agency to get off the ground and get started, to have a good AEP. And I'm doing it myself to try to prove that. And that's why I say I want to go through an AEP myself. So when I come in January, I can be like, look, I just wrote 300 clients on my own pen doing exactly this. And if you want to do the same thing, let's do it. So
yeah, that's good, dude. It's funny, I've had similar situations where it's like, damn, we were not set up for this. Cause I started as a consumer facing, cause I come from the Allstate world. So it was like, you sell auto and home insurance and that's how you make money. Right. And then it's like, oh wait, this whole recruiting thing. And obviously on the property and casualty side, you got to pay to play for the contracts and this and this. And it's like, I'll tell you what, we were not set up that way. But we evolved into that. And a lot of it was reverse engineering where, I don't know. I think it's like a two-sided coin on that, because part of me is like, yeah, but
you don't know what you need if you don't have it, right? So it's like,
and are you growing if you ain't breaking things, right? It's like, yeah, like what we were doing with me and 3 other people is going to be different, right? And so, but again, that experience was so invaluable where now I know not to do it, and I know how to train other agents and educate them like, yo, guys, like, and it's not just me saying it. It's like, no, I went through it and it freaking sucked. But at the same time, it's invaluable experience, right? It's like back in my Allstate days, I called it my best, worst boss, where I did literally freaking everything and got paid pennies on the dollar. But I learned everything about running an entire agency, even though I was an employee, right? So you talked about okay, so 300 it seems like is the goal for you, right? And just to have an AEP and just have that perfect tech stack. But you also, talked about having this customer, like this actual relationship with the client as well. Talk through what you had set up, because you also said, man, I totally stepped away and the thing still freaking runs. That's beautiful. What did you put in place to have it run? But then what are things going to be different in your agency where you still get that personal relationship, but obviously still have your marketing, have your, your perfect tech stack, but still have that rapport building? You get where I'm going with that?
Yeah. It's more of the retention marketing, I think, is
Okay.
because like getting the customer on the books again, that usually, like, you have your lead source and how that comes. The retention and how long that single customer stays on the book is what we noticed was the most valuable, trying to increase the lifetime value of the client. And like right now, the lifetime value of a Medicare client is probably around $650 to $700, like right at street level commission for a true up, right? So
Yeah.
it's not some insane amount. So it's like, if that's the average LTV of the client is the first year commission, I just have to make an effort to get them into the second year, and I'm beating the average long lifetime value of the client for most agencies.
Right.
So what can I do to get my 12-month retention, my year-over-year retention after 12 months to be as high as possible? So we started implementing a lot of retention-focused things. A lot of that was, the handwritten postcards, and we went through several services to do that. And of course, we ultimately ended up on one that was printed but looked handwritten, right? And it was an on-demand service, and it's very valuable, and we were still using it. But actually getting a service to write that out, where they write it out on a card, and then it's stamped with a real stamp, like the rate that gets open, like, I don't care who you are, like your grandma gets that in the mail, she's going to open it and read it if it's handwritten with the stamp on it. I don't care what it says on it. Like, she's going to look at it, read it before she tosses it. Whereas that printed one just might get tossed because it just is obvious that is not personable. So just small little things like that, which is, again, it increases the marketing piece. We go from maybe $1 to send a printed one to $2.50. So it increased my $1.50 for a little bit of a retention marketing to send one mail piece, and I send that 6 times. So it may have cost me $10 extra to send this client some extra marketing that looks more personable, but now I've kept them for a whole extra year.
Right.
And I'm almost doubled my LTV of that client. So it's
how did you back into that LTV? How do you back into that? Just over, or like, how many people are we? Is that just like the industry standard?
And it's like the industry average, that's considering all things as a whole. That's call centers, the GoHealth, Select Quotes, and of the world, including the field agents and all. That's just like the overall average of a Medicare beneficiary. So
right, which is basically it's that first year. That's crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's just part of the market that we're in, because they're being advertised to so heavily every year that it's hard to keep that one client on the books for 5, 6, 7 years when you didn't establish that first relationship face to face.
Right.
If that first relationship was a face to face, I think it's a lot easier to keep that client year over year versus if you're acquiring them over the phone. So if you're just focused on acquisition over the phone and you're just taking inbound calls, or you're creating leads digitally, you might have to double up on what you're doing to a local shop that may be sitting there driving in local leads. And with a retail facing shop, they're going to just naturally get that because they've spent money on the retail shop, the overhead, and that type. And so they're getting their ROI in a different way. It's not that they're not spending money to get that. They've just invested differently than what you have. Right. You may be sitting in your house just buying digital leads, and I can't market the same way they do. So I might have to go above and beyond what they're doing to give that same type of retention and effect that I want to keep that client that I got a little bit easier, I would say, just because I consider if I acquired the client digitally or through Facebook or a paid lead, I would say that's easier than if I got a referral or somebody walked in my door or a warm market's come to me, right? Like, that's a loyal client that's going to keep on the books for a long time. And if I can start to create that more and more and more, and that's what we used to drive home over there, was like creating a local brand is ultimately what's going to give you that momentum to start snowballing into creating a national brand. But you got to start with the local brand. I think so many people start to build a national brand and start to go too wide, where it's like, I need to focus on a small local area where I can get referrals and loyal customers that actually talk to each other. And I create a small little network of people who know who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, oh man, I got a question for you, but I'm not going to ask it yet. I'm going to save it because it's about scaling and going from the local to the national, right? And just, again, the pain points and the bottlenecks that can come from that as well. Just because it's growth, right? It's a lot. But where I want to start, new first AEP for an agent, right? We've got a lot of new and we're in syndicate now, right? And I'll put this out on my personal profile and stuff, but for the most part, like, we're probably 50-50 PNC and then life, health, and Medicare. And I know that there's a lot of agents here in this group, or at least that have recently joined, that are getting ready to go into their first AEP. Or maybe it's like it's their second or third AEP, but it's their first like, I'm going full time, right? This is my focus. I'm going to make some money this year. What should they do? What's Steven going to do? What would you tell an agent, like, dude, this is exactly what I would do? Is it the small local shop? Let's get word of mouth. Let's do some grassroots marketing type stuff. Or is it kind of paired with the marketing? Just give us the 101.
Yeah. So my first AEP, right? I'm gonna say it's my first AEP on my own, rather, right?
He's going through a lot of AEPs, but it's his first one. Yeah.
Yeah. First one where I'm actually, I'm doing everything and then relying on the sales and the actual outcome of it all on my own, right? Like, I got to benefit a lot from over there, but I do the marketing and just look at the results from the agents and what come in. And so now I'm actually getting, start to finish and get the whole look at the picture. And so I'm getting to dictate, control all of it, and then actually figure out what's not working for me once I'm on the phone, where I didn't get a lot of that feedback before. We would try to coach the agents and listen to calls and things like that, but that's very time consuming. And so, no, so what I plan on doing, so I preach this to every agency. You've got to have 3 lead sources. Identify 3 lead sources. And going into AEP, I have to have 3 lead sources that I know if I pour a little bit in, I'm going to get a little bit out over here. And it doesn't have to be an extreme amount. It could be a 10 to 20% close ratio on that lead source. As long as I know that I can close 1 out of 10 that come through there, that's a valuable lead source. And so for me, there's going to be several of them. We've got several different
louder. say that last part louder for those in the back. Yeah.
So, if you can have them 3 lead sources identified, whatever they may be, stick with them and pour into them. So for me, digital obviously is the number one for me. Facebook, that's probably where most of my ad spend is going. I've already started digital ads right now, and that's all I have going right now is the digital. Working on a direct mail piece to a small local market, again, a 45-mile radius around my home base, where I'm targeting that 65 to 70-year-old group, because I kind of want a younger crowd that I can hopefully write some med subs and some ancillary products on, right? Rather than just MAPD, because I want to diversify my book of business. And then we have some of these other lead sources. I've got two platforms in play that I have capable of turning on, but they're both the same style of lead, where they're created digitally and they're inbound calls. So you go into the platform, you flip a switch on, and then
Who are you rolling with? Are you in Call Sync at all? You checked out Call Sync?
We've used Call Sync. It's not the one I'm set up on right now. Personally, we're using Enroll Here.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Policy Bind is the other one that we're working with. And Policy Bind's it's a little bit different than Enroll Here. They're kind of the same idea, but the way that the lead was generated probably differs a little bit.
Okay.
Policy Bind, they have they like double verify their leads through Equifax before it comes to you, so it's a little bit higher quality lead. So. Okay. But it's the same idea. They're generated digitally and they're inbound calls. And so I'm just I'm logging into a platform, I'm flipping on a switch, and then I could sit there and take inbound calls. And so when my first 2 lead sources run dry and I'm just sitting on my hands, I don't have anybody to call, I've contacted all my leads, nothing's going in. Now I have something else that I could tap into. So I'm not just burning time. I'm actually, I can continue to work while my platform's turned on. Inbound call comes in. Okay, great. I might have a conversation. If not, bam, I get back to doing what I was doing. So it's just maximizing the efficiency of your time, because the reality of it is we only have 55 days, and 8 out of them weeks are weekends, right? So there's 16 days that are weekends. And so unless you're working weekends, you're really limited on the amount of time that we have to maximize our efforts during that. And so doing as much as we possibly can during that time frame is going to be pivotal, but having the systems in place to do that. So again, Sending the direct mail out, like we're starting that. That's probably going to go out within this next week or two. Hit the mailboxes in a couple of weeks. So by pre-AEP, first or second week of AEP, maybe I have some direct mail responses coming in to drum up, have the digital ads coming in, and then in the meantime, I'll flip on the switch and have some inbound calls coming in. So again, just 3 identifiable lead sources, and that's on top of the referrals. Getting out.
Right.
When we go to church and you talk to when you talk to the warm market and everybody. So that alone is going to be huge for us. Just because personally, I never really tapped into my warm market a whole lot. It's never. I've always felt kind of icky, cringe about like going to my friends and be like, hey, you need some insurance. It's like if they need it, if they know what I do, they'll come to me. Right. But I think it's time that I'm to the point where I've been doing it for 6 years, 7 years. Like I'm not cringe anymore. So I'm just like, hey, like reach out to him. Hey, I'm starting over. Like you need me to look at this. Like let's look at your health insurance and evaluate what you got going on.
What all lines of business are you doing? Are you focusing? Obviously, I mean, you got AP and Medicare. I know that's going to be a main focus. What else are you doing? Like health, like individual health, ACA
Absolutely.
type stuff? Okay.
Yeah. So I would say all healthcare. So yeah, under 65 individual health, all the ancillary lines. Our focus is going to be on Medicare, obviously, but we'll write short-term medical, ACA, and of course all the ancillary products, DVH, cancer, all that. And then life. Yeah, we'll write some life. I've got some of the highest life contracts, so I can go out there. Of course, I'm not going to focus on life, but of course, I've got some groups that work with me that want to work. I would say I got groups that want to work with me already that are writing a bunch of life. So I've made sure that I can accommodate some of their life levels. But they, diversifying that book of business is going to be huge too, because I can tell you, like, I don't know that I'm going to grow this agency to be like a legacy agency that I'm going to pass off to my children. I'll be honest with you. I look to grow this agency for probably an exit in 3 to 5 years. The goal is 2030. So if I can grow the book of business to be, 3 to 5 times valuation in 5 years, then it'll probably just be an exit strategy for me to honestly like get a lick of money to go start another endeavor, whether that's another insurance agency or a bigger software company, who knows? And a lot of that depends on the success of the software company. Again, when we were talking about, I started up, I left By Rock Insurance. I started the agency initially, but I also started alongside that a software company with the goal of provide tools and resources to the agents. And so I've got a couple of them working. Like, so the first product I have that I'll be pushing in January, again, I'm not worried about it right now. I actually have a working product that I could demo and everything, but it would just distract me away from the agency. And that's where I need to focus right now. So come January, I'll turn my attention over to the software side of it, but it's a platform aimed for FMOs to communicate with your agents. So the agent can have a platform to log into and communicate and see all of their contracts, where they're at in the contract process, whether they're ready to sell, whether they need to release, whether they're certified, what products they are able to sell, what level they get on that product, what commission they get on that product. So just all the details that you want as an agent that is almost impossible to get in one platform.
Right.
You have to start sifting through contracts, right? You go to your upline, you're like, what level am I at? And they're like, oh, I don't know. It's in your contract. And then you go to the contract and you're digging through a 40-page document for this level that you're at. And it's not a number, by the way, it's going to be a name, right? And then that name doesn't tell you shit on what you actually get paid. So then you got to go back to the carrier and be like, okay, I'm at this DMO level. What does that even mean? What percentage is that? So all them questions that you're just kind of in the dark about as an agent, you're just, and as an FMO, it's not that you don't want to get your agents that information. It's that there's not a tool or a resource available to bridge that gap of communication. And so that's what I'm hoping to create, is that gap. So your FMO logs in, they put all that information in there, and you never have to call your FMO or your upline. You look in your portal, and then if that question doesn't get answered by your portal, then you can obviously reach out to your upline. But I'm looking for this to be an FMO solution that your FMO pays for, and then all your downline agents have access to that.
Love that, dude. And I love that you said it, because when a company or a software is focused around communication, sign me freaking up, bro. Like, that is my biggest thing. I mean, I've got Slack channels and everything, and I see some of my team actually commenting on the show right now where, dude, I'm so heavy on communication. almost to the point, and I tell everybody this, even like when I'm recruiting, like, yo, we're pretty heavy on communication. Like, I'm going to hit you in the Slack, you're going to get an email, and then we're going to have a call about it too, potentially. And almost to the point of over communication, but then you can't say I didn't communicate. And in my opinion, communication is what builds trust. So if there's no communication or there's a lack of communication, then there's minimal trust or no trust. And if there's minimal trust or no trust, why are we doing business together? Right.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that, because when you can communicate and relay information efficiently to your team, again, kind of to your point, dude, I've already, like, with the LTV and the clients, like, dude, if I can just keep them 2 years, I'm already this far ahead of the industry average. It's like, bro, if you just communicate, if you have one system where you can communicate efficiently to your downline agents and agencies, you're this far ahead of the rest of the freaking industry. Isn't it crazy? The benchmarks of some, I mean, you've seen a lot of it too, because of the level you guys were playing at. Like, the benchmark that we're sitting at in this damn industry, dude, it's almost embarrassing, where if you just do this, you're better than freaking 50% of the other people. Like, it's wild to me, bro.
And then not even if you just do it, if you just keep doing it. Because the ones that do it, they'll stop doing it eventually, right? Do it and then keep doing it and don't stop. And that's the thing, is because most people, they'll eventually stop doing something that they thought was working, but they couldn't gauge how well it was working. And that was the other thing, is like, sometimes you just have to go off your gut feelings. Like, I know that sending a card out to my client is a valuable touch point. Can I gauge? Is there a metric, an analysis of how valuable that is? No.
Right.
But I just think about, like, if my grandma got that card in the mail, she would value that a little bit more than something fully printed, right? So it's just, again, some things you just have to use your gut on. But we know, like, doing small things like that will increase your the follow-up phone call. That's another lost art, like a 2-week follow-up phone call. Right. Most agents are like, I ain't got time to, I already sold that person. I'm not gonna call them and make sure they got their cards. Like, that's a valuable phone call that increases that retention far beyond what you would anticipate, right? And then it's a service call and it's a cross-sell opportunity.
Yep.
It's just 3 things in one. You're creating the retention. You're creating another, like, hey, Miss Jones, you got your cards. Great. Is there any other questions? Oh yeah. Did you have some more time to think about the cancer policy we said no to the other day? Like, let's go ahead and do that. Right. So that's another touch point, but that follow-up phone call is another lost art in I wouldn't say like in the overall Medicare industry, but like what we were doing, we kind of lost the art of nobody wanted to make follow-up phone calls.
Right. It was like, the follow-up's coming 6 months down the freaking road, and it's already too late. They already made a switch, or there's some SEP going on and they made a move, and it's like, wait, what? I thought I closed you. And that's Rebecca Davis. That's one of my favorite things, man. She's like, my front door is wide open, but guess what? My back door is freaking closed, where a lot of agencies just have it where it's a wind tunnel. They walk in the front door, and then as soon as they walk in the front and you close them, they're right out the back, and you're never like talking to them again. You've never really solidified that application and solidified the freaking relationship. But also, I want to go to this, because this was one thing that I really kicked myself on. Obviously, we've grown now, and I've brought a ton of people into this industry, and not necessarily the industry, but to the opportunity of what we're doing. But when I first started our agency back in the day with Pops and Redwood, it was, I was almost scared to bring people along with me because I didn't know it all, or it was my first AEP. But I'm kicking myself because, dude, there would have been, how far ahead would I have been in year 2 if I had other people running with me in year 1? Mm-hmm. You said you got 5 contracts out, so you've got people. Are you doing like the LOA model, or are you doing? Yeah. Okay, so you got LOAs.
Starting an LOA career path.
Okay. Talk through that. Why bring people with you through your first AEP, and what's the game plan there?
Well, like you just said, there was so many times in the very beginning where I didn't recruit people in because I wasn't sure about it. Like, I was still uncertain. Like, I don't know if this is something, like, I don't know if I bought into something that was a false hope or a false promise. Right. I'm still trying to figure it out. So it's hard to convict somebody like, hey, this is it, but now I absolutely can say with conviction, like, this is the best career path that I know, outside of having some, 4-year major college degree where you are set out on some path. Like, anybody that doesn't have some set out path that they're going after, like, absolutely, this is a viable option, right? And I never believe that in the first couple of years. Obviously, over the last 4 years, I wholeheartedly believe that. And so now I'm able to speak with conviction to these people and tell them, like, hey, I've actually been through this. I've seen this. And I know for a fact that I can get you making X amount of money. And a lot of it is just sitting down with people and trying to figure out what their goals are and where they're at right now and how you can get them to them goals. And if you can lay out that path and then speak to it with conviction, you can get people on board with you. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm going to be able to support 3 to 5 LOA agents in my first AEP, and we're going to have a magnificent AEP. I'm hoping to write 2,000 to 3,000 apps. Just depends on how everything goes. But if we can do that, then we're going to look up.
First AEP, he's going 2,000 to 3,000 apps. Woo! Oh, let's go.
Hey, it's big targets because I know it's possible. It's that confidence that I know what's possible, that when we look up in this LOA model, like I know in January how fruitful that will be, and that how much we can double back down into the agency and keep growing what we've done, because I just did it all in the exact model. And like my career model is a little bit different. I'm working more of a remote agent model where they have the opportunity to work remote. Obviously, I'm not providing an office and inbounds, but providing tech and everything like that as an LOA model. So I have a career path for the LOAs. The first one obviously was my sister. She's been working with us at Bobby Brock Insurance for about 5 years. She's been our top med sup producer. But when I told her that I was going out on my own, obviously she was like, well, I'm coming with you. So
that's
I was like, all right. Well,
remind me, what's her name? I've met her one time.
Michelle.
Yeah. I met her at the Medicare con in
Birmingham.
Yeah, it's in Birmingham. Yep. That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah, so she's coming with me, and then I've got a couple other agents that I've known that are coming over. That they're already licensed. So the benefit was that they're already licensed. I was able to just immediately get them to move over under me because they were just set out to go through AEP, working with some other FMOs that weren't really. It wasn't a viable option. I'm like, well, how did you even get strung into this? But again, I run into so many agents that I look into what they've bought into or the system, that they've got into, and it's very one-sided. and so I'm aiming to create a career path and LOA model that is not one-sided, that is beneficial to both the LOA career agent and obviously the agency, so we can keep growing. But agents shouldn't have an issue plugging into what I have going on. My problem is going to be creating the infrastructure to handle all the agents that want to come work with me. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And when it works, when we go through our first AEP and you do 2,000 to 3,000 apps, it's like, oh shit. We're not going to probably have just 5 people anymore.
Yeah.
I
had a group of 50 agents that wanted to come over a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, I would be doing us both a disservice to tell you yes. I was let's talk in January and we'll have a great conversation then. But right now, I'm 2 weeks into this thing. I was like, I wouldn't be doing you a favor, and I wouldn't be doing myself a favor. I would probably have the most miserable AEP ever.
That's a lot too. Yeah, right off the rip. You be breaking some things for sure. I love that you said, so everything that you're saying, one, I love the word conviction, right? Especially, I feel as though there is a lack of conviction when it comes to our industry showing this opportunity to people, even though they know it works. And maybe it's like almost the industry's kind of going back into the secret sauce kind of, it was like everybody share everything, no secret sauce, to where now it's kind of more like, I don't really want to tell everybody that, right? Which I don't know, I can understand it to an extent, but for me, I lead with my heart. I'll give you, 9 out of 10 people I tell exactly how I started my business, they'll never freaking do it, right? So it's like I don't mind doing it. But you also, you talked about just with conviction, but with confidence, the numbers. And I was watching this Myron Golden video. I don't know if you follow Myron Golden at all. He's freaking awesome. Anybody that's watching this, if you don't follow Myron Golden, he's on YouTube. He comes from financial services and insurance. So a lot of his training and coaching and stuff, it does well with insurance. So I use it a lot. But he talks about the law of averages. He goes, dude, I sit down with people and I don't care if I sell them or not. He goes, I literally don't sit down with people to sell them. Right. And it's because he knows, he just knows without a doubt, like you said, I know for a fact, y'all, if you sit and do this many calls and this many appointments or take this many inbounds, and it's the law of average. You'll just back into the freaking numbers. So many agents freaking struggle with that, dude. What is that? And I know you've seen a ton of that through all the behind the agencies, the Medicare all the conversations and calls that you've been on. What is it with people like, dude, guys, we have enough data here. We know that if you just do this, this will be the freaking result. And they still won't do this, right? Like, is it they get in their own way? Is it a mindset thing? Is it an effort? Like, hey, are you willing to put in the work type thing? What is your experience in that? It's crazy to me.
Yeah. What we experienced, what I experienced was like, it's a lot of head trash. Agents get in their own head about it. And I was able to break through that because prior to selling insurance, I was selling dental supplies, and I come from a company where we were required to make 100 outbound calls a day. And our trainer used to drill that into us. You make 100 calls a day, like you're going to make 5 sales. There's no way that you make 100 calls and 5 people don't buy something. And that was true. And I did that for 6 years, and that remained true. And so I've always continued the law of numbers. Like, it is truly the law of numbers. And then our analytics backed it. Was every lead source that we were doing, it was either a 10%, and that was just the lower below average agents that weren't maybe as good on the phone, but there was still numbers there. It wasn't like you just shit the bed.
Right.
Or the good ones were closer to 30%, or sometimes upwards of 30%. Right. But at somewhere in that variable, but it's the law of numbers. I know if you do this many times, you're going to get 1 to 3 sales. But I think most agents just get in their head. They have this head trash of, if the first 7 calls went bad, then now my next 3 is just like, I don't have that energy to do it. Where if I just maintain that same energy going into them last 3 calls, one of them last 3 are going to pay off. It's going to happen. And if it didn't, right, this is where people get flawed with that mentality. Well, I did 10 calls and nothing happened. The law of numbers didn't work. Well, no, do 10 more and 3 of them might buy, and now we're back even, right? So it's like, then that may happen into 20, 30, and 50. But then from 50 to 100, you may make the 25 sales and then 50 calls. And so again, you may get back to it. And so, but it's that head trash of that discouragement that people, after them 20 calls, it's like, law of numbers ain't working. Well, let me get my law number bigger. Let's get it to 100, 1,000.
The law of large numbers, because you need to do more than 5.
Right. And so, like, people are taking small sample sizes and trying to apply that, and then they just get in their own way and they don't keep doing the work. And so it's a combination of the head trash that leads into the accountability of, I don't need to keep doing this because it's not working. And so I'm not going to put the effort and energy into what I'm being told is working for other people. They're telling me 10 other agencies are doing this. I'm doing it. It's not working. But it's just, again, it's that defeating that's getting me down. And I just have to maintain that level of confidence that I know I'm going to go into every call with high energy. I'm going to bring that same level of confidence and energy to every phone call. And throughout that, I'm going to get there versus drifting off. And by that last call, you're just like, hey, Joe, you want this damn policy?
Right. I'll tell you, I love that you said the 100. So this is actually my first year that I haven't been activity goal driven with my internal team. Typically it's daily activity goals that I set. And then I know that so I never did production goals because I knew they're always, as long as you did the activity, you're going to hit the production. We had some shifts within the team, and honestly, I just wanted to kind of try a different style of management. And the production goals have worked really well for us, for sure. But activity is where it's at. At the end of the day, I know that if you're not going to do the activity, and so I always did the 1, 2, 3. And I'm curious your thoughts and opinion on this, but you even talked about it to start the show. Like, dude, I spent 45 minutes on the phone with this guy before I even tried to sell him anything. So we did the 1, 2, 3. It was 100 dials, 2 hours of talk time, or 3 policies sold. 2 out of the 3 need to be done every day, because I know the third will follow if you're doing 2 out of the 3, right? And it was always the dials, but then a lot of the times, we've been told, hey, you do, at least on the property and casualty side, and really just in sales, I guess you could call it. All right, the more people you talk to, the more quotes you're going to get. The more quotes you get, the more policies you sell, right? Well, we're starting to run these numbers, and the numbers were just so skewed, where it's like, okay, this dude's over here doing way more dials, but has way less quotes. This guy's over here doing less dials, but he has more quotes, but he's not closing anything. And then for me, it's like I'm kind of lower on everything outside of one, but I have the best sales. Why was it? The number, like the truest correlation I could find to my success over the phone was my talk time. My average talk time was 2.5 to 3 times longer than anybody else. Even like my average talk time on a cold call, that was back when you could still cold call, because that's how we started, I mean, my average talk time per cold call was almost 2 minutes. I mean, like, these people don't know me from anywhere, dude, and they're sitting there talking to me for 2 minutes on average. So that was what we found was, dude, I kept people on the phone the longest, which is what helped me close more. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see that? Obviously, you've crunched so much data over
Oh
the
yeah.
years.
Talk time was one of the biggest metrics that we used over there, and especially when we started growing the call center side of what we were doing. Talk time was it was like it was the biggest factor outside of like app count. How many apps did
Right.
you write? And then what was the talk time on the phone? It wasn't even how many calls you made, because how many calls you made was irrelevant. The talk time was really indicative of like how much you were actually producing.
Right.
And I've visited a lot of call centers and helped call centers around the country. And I've visited call centers that only pay per hour on talk time. And so that's how they pay their agents, is talk time per hour. So they
Damn,
pay them
that's
like a
actually
very
pretty freaking smart.
yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, and it runs a really good shop, does a lot of production out of that shop. Right. So it's like, so talk time is definitely a key factor in the agent's performance, especially when it's telesales and most of it's over the phone. And if you can measure that talk time and get that talk time up, it's definitely, and again, that's not saying get them to ramble on about nothing and not talk about insurance for 45 minutes like I did, right? It's like talk and have engaging conversation where you're fact finding, because there's a way to strategically have conversation, but fact find at the same time. Just cordially asking questions and having a conversation where they don't even realize they're giving you information, but you're fact finding, you're gathering, and you're doing what you do, which is increasing talk time, but it's also helping you identify situations where, hey, can I help this person? Is it an underwriting situation? Is there an SEP situation I can apply here? Like what's the scenario that's actually going to play out here? But without doing that, I may just give up within the first 60 seconds of the call when Miss Jones was like, no, I'm not interested. Well, you don't even know what you're not interested in, Miss Jones. Like, just keep them on the phone, right? Like, and to your point, like, just keeping them on the phone gets them talking. And without them talking, how do I know if I can help them or not?
Right.
So,
And I mean, it's the intent behind it too. The buyer intent goes up so much where I'm like, look, dude, they're not sitting here on this freaking phone with me if there's not some type of higher intent versus somebody who's like, I'm busy, I'm good to go, right? Like, even if they're saying that on the phone, but they haven't hung up yet, it's like, okay, there's got to be some type of intent here that you are actually interested. Otherwise, like, why are we still talking to each other, right?
Yeah. Now, Johnny Brock was the greatest at this. Of course, Johnny come in. He trained a lot of our agents over there at Bobby Brock, but he was the greatest at just blatantly and completely ignoring any objection, like whatever they said, like they didn't even say it. You just like keep going, and you almost have to do that with some of it, because they're just they're putting up their walls there. It's just immediately. And think about it, like you probably do it too. You probably filled out a form somewhere and you knew they were going to call, and they called and you're like, no, this ain't Steven. Like
right
this ain't me. But it's like at one point it did cross your mind, you were interested in that. It's just maybe a bad time for you right now when they're calling. So you're just like, no, that's not me. And if you called them back tomorrow, you might actually have the conversation. You're like, okay, yeah, now's a better time. Let me pick up this about the car sweepstakes I put my name in or whatever, right? But it's just maybe bad timing. And again, that goes back to like people giving up on leads too. Like after one call, it may just be bad timing. I wouldn't say triple dial them immediately, but at least multiple efforts on the call. I think triple dialing is kind of spammy. I'm not a fan of the triple dialing.
Well, and the telephony companies don't even like it anymore, man.
Yeah. If you want to get your number spam blocked quick, then triple dial. But if you're okay with it, like call them today, call them tomorrow, call them the next day, or call them in the morning, call them in the evening. Because again, it's a lot of the times it's just bad timing, because you have to realize we're calling cell phones. They're mobile devices. They may be in the grocery store writing a check, and they can't answer the phone. So it's like, it's not that they don't want to talk to you. It's just, it was a bad time. And I think that's, again, it goes back into the law of numbers, that you're calling these numbers and they're not answering and you're getting discouraged. It's like, well, let's go back and like call them 3 to 5 times before we give up on this actual number. And again, not at the same time, but over a week or two.
Yeah. And I think, especially if you're paying for the lead, I can't tell you how many people I've seen buy leads and they just churn and burn, dude. And it's like, dude, you just spent all that money on that. Like, you should be following up. Like, and we all know, again, it's the law of freaking numbers on everything. we know statistically it's going to take anywhere from like 5 to 12 touch points or whatever it is now to actually close somebody if you're not doing the one call close. And like people just, I mean, it's just money wasted out the freaking door where, dude, data is
it blows my mind how many agents I've sat down with, and they're running ads, running Facebook ads, generating all kinds of digital leads, and then the leads just sit there, and they call them once or twice, or they tried to send them one text message and then like never called. And it's like, do you just love giving away money, dude?
Yeah.
And so like for us, when you're running the agency and you're giving these leads to other agents, nothing pisses you off more than the leads not being worked or called.
Right.
Because it was like, if you as the agent were paying for that lead and I told you that cost you $30 to get on the phone with that person, I promise you would pick up the phone and you would call and you would make at least a 60 to 2 minute effort on that phone to try to get them to talk to you. Right. And so it's just that, when you're hiring agents in their employee mindset, they might not have that same urgency of the lead. And so it's like, to create that urgency or the value of that lead that you have in it as the agency owner, it's hard to translate over to the agent. And that's what we noticed was they don't value the leads at the same rate. But if we could just get them to understand the law of numbers, like, hey, like treat each lead like they're your own, like you're paying for it. And then that law of numbers, like you're going to go into it a little bit more effort. You're going to stay on the phone a little bit longer. You're going to handle a couple more objections than you would if you were like rushing off the phone, rushing to the no. Because we've had agents come in there and do that when we set metrics at call. Yeah. We just say, hey, you have to place 100 calls a day. Okay. Click. I can make 100 calls a day, right?
They're all 2-second calls. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went back and forth with our metrics on what we were measuring over there. Our biggest thing was app count. We like to just throw the app count out there, our weekly goal for app counts, and then kind of hold you accountable at the end of the week, and then address what were the factors that didn't get you there. So talk time being one of them. Obviously, call volume. How many calls did you take, and how long were you actively making calls and taking calls? Like, them were the two biggest factors. How long were you available, and then how long were you actually on the phone? In addition to like how many apps you actually wrote. But we always just started with app count. Here's our expectation. We're not going to micromanage you to make sure you're doing all of that. But at the end of the week, we're going to evaluate that and then figure out why you didn't hit your metric by going back and looking at the numbers.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. That's good, man. So as we kind of start to wrap up the show here a little bit, I do want to spend some time here. This is where I wanted to go earlier, but I'm like, well, let's start here and then I'm going to come back to this. So getting back to your roots, right? And the whole mission statement behind BBI and that personal relationship that y'all had with the client that started to get away from you as you grew and scaled, right? How do you maintain that when you're scaling and growing and evolving and morphing as a company, right? Like, what is your plan? Because again, I mean, when you're scaling, dude. There's only so much time in a day. Obviously, I mean, you can put more butts in the seats to maintain those relationships, I guess. Or what's your plan to still maintain that personal relationship with the client, which is why you're doing your thing, right? But still being able to scale and, hey, come January, yeah, I can't say yes to 50 agents. What's your thoughts behind that? Or do you have to change that to scale? Or can you scale it just being the personal local relationship, but obviously still over the phone and stuff like that? Like what are you thinking on that?
I think you can scale both ways. I think the time frame in what you scale is, if you're doing it more call center style, you can do it a little bit faster. You can start to get that app count, that revenue, the capital that's flowing through the business, obviously higher, very quicker. Now, I think it's more valuable to do it with the local because it's going to take a little bit more time.
You got a better LTV, right, than a call center would.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So your local business is definitely more valuable to do it, but it's going to take a little bit more time. I think, the 3 to 5 year mark to actually get a valuable book of business grow on your books versus, I could go out and I don't want to like talk negatively about any platform or anything, but I'm just saying I could go out, like turn on one of these inbound platforms and write a ton of apps, but I may look up next year and may not have half of that on the books after AEP. And so was that valuable? Was that the best use of my time right now? Well, no. Did it provide a lot of capital and revenue generation immediately? Sure. But was that the best thing for the long-term growth of the business?
Right.
No, because if I'm looking over a 5-year term and I'm saying at the end of 5 years, when I look up what's going to provide me the most value, well, getting as many face-to-face appointments, getting as many inbound calls as I can in a local market based off of referrals in warm market is going to ultimately grow my book of business the best, and where I feel like it's not volatile at all. Right.
Yeah.
I want to create a strong book of business. So gaining the clients in a quality way, increasing them retention efforts. So as much face-to-face as possible, as much referrals inbound as possible, but then after the business is wrote, increase the retention efforts with outbound touches, outbound communications, text message, emails, direct mail, and then just continuing that over that 3 to 5 year period. Again, I don't think there's any way to expedite it faster than than what you can already do. Like there's no magic sauce to get you 100,000 of them over the next 3 years. Like there's only a certain rate at what you can do it, and you're limited by the number of agents that you have ultimately. So as soon as you can start replicating yourself in the sales process, that's when you can start growing the agency. Because I can only do so much on my own pen.
Right.
But for me, I don't even want to do that much on my own pen, because I want to operate and manage and grow the agency because I know where to take it. I just need the agents to actually get in here and actually do that. And I'm willing to show them, train them, and give them all the tools, the tactics, the resource, all the knowledge that I've been given over the last few years to make that happen. Because ultimately what's going to happen is they're going to grow that valuable book of business. And again, what their goal, it may be a legacy or it may be for an exit. It doesn't matter. Either way, you're going to grow a valuable book of business where your income has grown significantly. And every one of them employees that you've brought on, you've completely changed their life.
Yep. That to me, whether it's a legacy company or not, I always view like how many lives will be impacted by what I'm doing with this organization. Right. And I'm definitely legacy. Like I want to have something for my kids and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, I don't know, sometimes that kind of changes in my mind where I'm like, dude, a nice 8-figure exit might kind of just change my kids' lives too, you know? Like, so kind of depends on how you look at it. I love that you brought up quality. The reason that people take the inbounds and there's call centers, and don't get me wrong, I know there's a place for them in the world, but there's a reason that their persistency and retention freaking sucks, is because it's easy. It's easy. It's easy. The quality takes time. You may have to go to the farmer's market or the chamber of commerce or the BNI or whatever, local, whatever, right? Or support the football team, blah, 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 blah. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. But man, those relationships, they will still be with you for your 5-year exit, right? Or 10-year, whatever you're trying to do or what you're trying to do. They're so much stickier, man. I love that you said that, but that's why a lot of people don't have quality business. But look at the exit too. What is a company really going to buy? They want to buy a good, healthy book of business, not somebody that turns 50% over every single freaking year, right?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, if your goal is the exit, I've sat down a lot of the tables. I've been in a lot of the conversations about these exits, and what they're looking at is the last 3 years of that, of that business, and how sticky has it been, and then what is the diversity of that business? Is it all one product line, or is it multiple product lines that isn't going to fall off the books overnight with one CMS rule change?
Right. Yeah. Are all the eggs in one basket, or are you spread out a little bit? Right. Yeah. I love that, man.
And I think that's kind of what we're getting into now, with all the PDP compensation, the commissions and everything being taken back. I think a lot of people are like, whoa, because if that was majority of your business, if you were solely relying on writing one carrier and one product, and
that just changed your
let's just
company.
say, like that one rule right there was like, oh shit, now here I am 3 weeks before AEP, and I have to scramble to figure something out because my plan's gone to shit essentially.
Yeah. Gosh, dude. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. With an AEP right around the freaking corner, bro. Well, as we kind of wrap up here, I want to respect everybody's time. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you are catching the replay, I saw you guys all here live, but if you're catching the replay, don't hesitate to comment, ask some questions. Obviously, Steven's here in the group, and we can circle back and answer any of those for you. But Steven, in conclusion, man, so I love that you said 3 to 5 years. This is like my favorite question to end the show with these days. 5 years from now, so potentially when you're taking your exit, What do you hope people say about Steven Martinez? What do you hope they say 5 years from now? Not 10, 15 when you're retiring or whatever, just 5 years from now. What do you hope they say about you?
I hope people say that I opened their eyes to a whole new world of technology and possibilities.
I love it. I love it, dude. A whole new world and unlimited possibilities. I love it. Thank you, Insurance Syndicate, for everybody tuning in. Seriously, I see you guys all tuning in live.
Let me plug myself. If you guys want to find out more about me, Ultimate
Absolutely.
Senior Benefits, that's my consumer facing brand. So ultimateseniorbenefits.com. My career model on the LOA side, you can check it out. It's ultimateseniorbrokers.com. And then if you're worried, wanted to look into the software that I was building, ultimateagent.app. And that's the software that I'm going to be building. So
it's the ultimate tech stack, baby. The ultimate resource for the ultimate agent. I freaking love it. Seriously, bro, it's so good to have you on, man. We're gonna have to run this back and do like kind of more, or maybe come January, let's like get you on and let's check out the platform and everything like that.
I was gonna say we'll check it back. We'll look at how successful or unsuccessful it was. Hopefully, it'll be another winning on Wednesday, and we'll go over the numbers and rave about how good it was.
I'm sending out the calendar invite now. We'll hold you to the 2,000 to 3,000 apps, man. I love it.
Let's do it.
Again, thank you. Thank you to all of our listeners. I appreciate y'all. And you guys know it's the peak of the week, right? Don't slow down. Let's keep the pedal to the floor, finish out strong, and we will see y'all next Wednesday. Happy winning on Wednesday. Later, guys. Oh, of course my mouse is broken, so I can't end the live stream. I'm going to end it real quick, guys. All right. Thank you, guys.